On today's show, I am joined by my good friend Sheri as we talk about our mutual love for The Simpsons. And audio and technical issues aside, we discuss how we each discovered the show and how the writing has changed throughout the show's monumental 30-plus year run. And then, on the final countdown, we rank our top 5 favorite episodes of all time. It was way more difficult than you think for me. So join us, will you, as we spring field into the next episode of Free Your Geek.
By the power of Grayskull.
You have failed this city. Traumatized.
Winter is coming.
Finish him.
Fatality.
And welcome to the Free Your Geek podcast. I am your host, Jay Free. And yes, it has been a long time. But here's the thing. My guest today was actually on our last show. It's our missing episode. Episode 103. It was an album analysis. The audio got horrifically bad. Not by any fault of our own, just the way it got copied over. But we're back with something totally different. And my guest today is my Sheri Amor. Sheri, welcome. You know, let's.
Thank you.
You're welcome. First of all, yes. I love having you on. You did my other podcast, cheap plug for that, for My Aimless Conversation, and you did amazing on that. So now I got to have you back on more and more and more.
Of course.
Which I think is amazing. And so today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about people with 4 fingers and yellow skin. And somebody that made their own word in the dictionary, also known AKA as Annoyed Grunt. We're going to be doing our top 5 favorite episodes of
The Simpsons.
Ooh, I didn't even prompt you for that, but your voice is so melodic. I love that. And you and I talked about on the other pod a little bit about our love, and that's how we first we worked together years ago, and that was how we started our friendship, was the love of The Simpsons.
Yep.
And I just think it's amazing. Like you were just saying, we off air, like whatever, like 30-something seasons already or now? I don't even know.
Crazy.
I'd have to, like, the show has kept going. It's changed with the times. I don't watch it anymore.
Same.
But like for my childhood and my young adulthood, like it's similar. I can only akin to like when Family Guy was like really, really popular.
Yes. Yeah.
It was like that probably 5 to 10 years prior with The Simpsons. And I have so many episodes that I can talk about. I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I just want to how did you get introduced to The Simpsons? Like, what does it kind of mean to you? Like, let's talk about that, because
So
like
in depth.
it's
So
such it's a formative television show.
It really is. So I don't recall ever saying like, oh, I want to watch this show. It just happened to be on TV and I just happened to watch it and I thought it was hilarious. What now, kind of reflecting back on it as an adult, to me, it was the early version of like the Pixar movies or the Disney movies where everybody could watch it and find it humorous. So as a child watching it, I would think things were hilarious because it's, Bart being Bart, he's mischievous and what have you, being like the Dennis the Menace, and Homer just being silly and dorky, or just doofy rather. But then watching it as like a teenager and going through school and like learning certain things through history classes and then rewatching it and then understanding other nuances, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So the way that the writers created the show, they made it to be enjoyable for everybody. So I can't pinpoint exactly a spot where I'm like, oh, I want to watch it, but I think it was a well-constructed show, and I'm surprised it's still, and amazed that it's still going on till this day.
Well, and to your point, I think that some of the writing, and that's what I was kind of alluding to a little earlier. They've gone through so many iterations, so many seasons.
Yes.
Humor has changed from I'm not their key demo anymore. You know what I mean? So
right.
it's like the humor is different. But I remember the early seasons, and I think you and I were talking about this a little off air. I think I've seen up until season 13. I believe you said around 15.
About 15. Around 2004, 2005 is when I stopped watching.
And I exactly, so like one of my favorite episodes, which kind of spoiler, Conan O'Brien wrote for it. Back in the days, one of my actually I don't even know if it's on my list, but it might be an honorable mention, or it might come. We might have to do a two-parter because I started compiling a list, and oh my god, like we were like, oh, top 5, it'll be quick, we can be in and out. And then by the time like I started like just writing down like the storylines that I remember, then I looked up the episodes, and then I'm like, by the time I got to it, I think there was like 27 episodes. I'm like, how am I supposed to whittle this down to 5?
Right.
So there's a lot that we can go through. I agree with you. I think The Simpsons has definitely kind of stood the test of time, and I think of it back to when I was a kid, and I believe it started as first as a short on the Tracy Ullman Show.
Yes.
And then it was more of a serious, not a serious, but it was kind of like almost like a sitcom, if you will, in cartoon form.
That's when they had the weird drawings before they like evolved.
Yes, but even like the first season, like it wasn't like it was more of Bart being a problem child rather than a prankster, and him like dealing with school, and Homer, being like working and trying to like support his family. And then as they like kind of hit pay dirt with some of the jokes, it got more and more absurd and slapstick and just all around hilarious. The writing is really, really smart. And I think that's when it kind of like really found its voice. But I remember being a kid and my dad not letting me watch it because Bart called his father Homer. And by that point, he's like, that show is so disrespectful.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing along the same lines, that same time frame, Married with Children. All those other shows were not, it was almost like taboo, if you will.
Right. Yeah.
And it was like, you shouldn't be watching that because it's not clean entertainment. It's tawdry. It's, risque. I'm just trying to think of the words, but,
and that's like minor in comparison to what we see nowadays. Seriously.
Yeah. I think we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll be doing our bit where we'll rank our top 5 favorite Simpsons episodes. So we'll be back after these messages. 4041media.com is your one-stop shop for fresh, locally sourced media. In addition to the Free Your Geek podcast, there are a number of informative and entertaining podcasts that you can find at 4041media.com. If you're into movies, check out Movie Theater Time Machine. The cast of Nick, Kaz, Dan, and Jocelyn take a trip through movie history. And if you're more into the murder, mystery, and motive, check out the Psych Your Crime podcast. Host Nicole Mann takes a deep dive into both the how and why people do the terrible things they do. Want to exercise your body and your mind? Join Nick Tabor on Honest Fit Talk with your trainer Nick as he dispels myths, misinformation, and other hurdles to work on your physical and mental health in a safe manner. And do you like sports? How about sports history? Then come on in, sit down for a bit, and let Brian tell you some of the history of the New York Yankees on the historic Pinstripes podcast. And if you're more into the mystical side of life, then join Haley and sometimes Jelly for some tarot card readings and occasional shenanigans on the Moon Tribe Tarot YouTube page. Are you more of a video gamer? Well, 4041 Media is home to a number of different Twitch streamers. Check out Mr. Bojangles 1984 as he grinds his way to becoming a professional streamer. Spoiler warning, he's already pretty damn good at it. Gizmo 508 is all about low-key game streaming. And Reclesis is on his quest for a world record or several on speedrun. And you can also hang out with former guest and occasional co-host of the show, ex-Ms. Black Mamba, as she enters the war zone in Call of Duty. And 4041 Media is growing with more content being added all the time. To listen or watch any of these aforementioned shows, head over to 4041media.com. That's 4041media.com. 4041 Media, fresh, locally sourced media. and welcome back to the Free Your Geek podcast. I am your host, Jay Free. It's going to be a quick episode today, but I have my dear friend Sheri. We both share a passionate love, not for each other, for The Simpsons. And let's talk about that. We have this bit. I don't know if you want to set it up. I don't even know if you know. We call it the final countdown. Do you just want to say this is the final countdown, or do you want me to say it?
I can do it.
Okay. Sheri, why don't you tell them what the name of the segment is?
This is the final countdown.
Yeah, see, there you go. There you go. This is the final countdown.
It's the final countdown. The final countdown. Yeah. Whoa.
Okay, so the way it's going to work is Sheri's going to start with her number 5 favorite episode, explain a little bit about it, why she likes it so much. Then it's going to come to me for 5, then to 4, 3, 2, and 1. I mean, you guys know how countdowns work. This is basically the way it works. So Sheri, when you're comfortable, when you're ready, please tell me your number 5 favorite episode of The Simpsons.
Okay, let's get this started. So, my 5th favorite episode from The Simpsons is actually season 5, episode 8, and it's called Boy Scouts in the Hood. And this is the episode where Bart and Milhouse go to the Quickie Mart and get an all sugar slushy, whatever it's
Squishy,
called.
that's what it
Yeah,
is. It's squishy, yeah.
And they go on essentially on a sugar binge, and Bart actually ends up enrolling in like the Cub Scouts version of, well, the Simpsons version of the Cub Scouts, and he is like regretting his decision, but he's seeing it through, and he has to bring Homer along with him for the shenanigans. So I thought that was it was hilarious because it's so out of Bart's element, but he ended up liking it because obviously he was able to play with pocket knives and what have you, so he kind of stuck with it. But I just remembered all the jumping around and silliness that him and Milhouse got into that led to that decision that I thought was hilarious.
It also led to an episode of, or part of the episode I remember, they're on the raft and Homer uses his sense of smell to find I believe it's the offshore rig Krusty Burger. Yes. Yeah. And that's such a great bit. I love that. So that's your number 5.
That's my number 5.
Okay.
Yep.
So my number 5 is season 8, episode 23, an episode by the name of Homer's Enemy. Is that on your list?
It's not, but I have a lot of season 8 ones on my list.
2 words, Frank Grimes.
Oh, yes. Yes. That's such a good episode.
My favorite, it's when, like, just the fact that they introduced this character as, like, this, you know, he's come from this, like, troubled past, or he's worked his way up from his bootstraps, and Homer just, like, has the life. And this guy, I think one of the lines is, like, I live a bowling alley and above a bowling alley and below another bowling alley. Like, just the fact. And then I'll see if I can find this audio clip and play it. But my favorite is Homer, like, tries to make amends with him, invites him over to dinner, and he sees all the clips from, well, not clips, but like photos from previous episodes. Here's when I met President Bush. Yes. Here's when I've been into space. What? You've never been? And it's just one of the greatest. Like, I just love the writing and the fact that there's, like, it's almost like here's like a normal human being and looking at from a normal human being's lens at Homer, like in a real world scenario.
Right.
That would never be.
No, exactly.
My other favorite line.
How can he be so successful and still be so dumb?
My other favorite line is I think they're in the break room of the nuclear power plant, and Homer's eating donuts, and Grimes is sitting there with with Carl and oh my God, what's the other guy's name? Is it Frank?
I don't think so.
Oh, why can't I? Lenny,
yes,
and Carl.
yeah.
Thank you. Oh my, why did I say Frank? Oh, we have a mutual friend named Frank.
Yes.
That's why. Frank.
And the character's named Frank Grimes.
Yeah, Frank Grimes. Yeah. So Lenny, Carl, and Frank are sitting in the break room watching Homer eat in his, like, you know, section, and then he goes, "Look at him. He eats like a pig." And Lenny goes, "I'd say he eats more like a duck. Pigs tend to chew."
He swallows.
And it's just one of the greatest lines. Like, I just love that. But let's play an audio clip from that episode.
Yeah, but look at the size of this place. I live in a single room above a bowling alley and below another bowling alley.
Wow.
I'm sorry, isn't that...
Yeah, that's me, all right. And the guy standing next to me is President Gerald Ford. And this is when I was on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins. Oh, and here's a picture of me in outer space.
You went into outer space. You.
Sure. You've never been?
And that's my number 5. So moving on to number 4. Sheri, what is your number 4?
My number 4 episode is from season 8, episode 8, and it was titled Hurricane Nettie. So this was the episode when Ned Flanders, who we all know and love, has his nice little slogans that he would say, like, hi diddly-o, neighborino, and it's always silly. But this episode in particular is when everything just seems to be going wrong in Ned's life. He ends up losing his house, and he just loses his absolute crap. And he just starts to show his true colors. He's tired of holding it in. And it also shows, I believe, where all the silly phrases came from and all the therapies he went through in order to get to that point. So I enjoyed that because it gave you a little backstory as to why Ned Flanders is so friendly, if you will.
And I think that also started like kind of like the idea that it's bigger than the actual Simpsons family. Like we're going to start leaning into the backstory or fleshing out some of these side characters.
Right. Yes.
So I think that's great. So a couple things that's not on my list. It was on my cut.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It didn't make the top 5, but
Okay.
it was on there. And
Made the top 20 at least.
yeah,
Okay.
maybe the top 25. I can't remember. But no, one of my favorite lines is after they rebuild the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I can't remember the exact line, but I think it was Mo or it might have been Lenny there too, where they're like, "Yeah, we ran out of paint, so we just we ran out of wood, so we just painted the dirt." Pretty snazzy, huh? And then he walks up to like this hallway. It's like a total Willy Wonka thing, and
Yes,
it shrinks.
yep.
And he opens this little door, and I think it's Barney on the other end. He's
Yep.
like, "It's your master bedroom." And just that was my horrible Barney impersonation.
That's pretty good. I like
But
it.
yeah, I thought it's such a great episode.
is.
Such a great episode. So that's your number 4.
That is my number 4.
My number 4 is a part 2, if you will.
Ah.
Season 7, episode 1. Who Shot Mr. Burns? Part 2.
Just talking about that not too long ago with my husband.
I love the fact that they went in between seasons. They had a cliffhanger at the
Yeah.
end of season 6, which led into season 7. And they actually had a couple different suspects when it was revealed
Yes.
to be Maggie,
Yep.
who shot Mr. Burns because he
Yep.
was trying to steal her lollipop,
Yes.
which is hilarious.
Yes.
And I'm going to do my damnedest to find it, and it's going to be at the end of this my talking point for this episode. I'm going to put, if I can find it, the lie detector portion that Mo had, because it is by far probably, again, I say top five jokes, running jokes of all time. And we'll get to my favorite joke coming up in a couple of entries, but
So many.
so many good bits. But yeah, just the fact that like it was a continuation, and like it was who was a suspect the entire, going back to what you were saying before about having like a backstory for Ned, like this brought in so many other side characters as
Right.
potential suspects. So it really kind of like went through the gamut of all the side characters on The Simpsons, which I actually absolutely loved. So that's my number 4. Let's listen to an audio clip of that.
Do you hold a grudge against Montgomery Burns?
No. All right, maybe I did, but I didn't shoot him.
Checks out. Okay, sir, you're free to go.
Good, because I got a hot date tonight. Odd date. Dinner with Fred. Dinner alone. Watching TV alone. All right. I'm gonna sit at home and ogle the ladies in the Victoria's Secret catalog. Sears catalog. Now, would you unhook this already, please? I don't deserve this kind of shabby treatment.
Moving on to number 3. Sheri, what is your number 3 favorite episode of The Simpsons?
My number 3 is called The Springfield Files, and that's from season 8, episode 10. And that was the episode where they had Mulder and Scully from The X-Files on it. And it was leading or showing Mr. Burns's health activities that he would do to keep up and running. And it would leave him very disoriented, and he would glow. So they thought that there was an alien that was
Running around in the woods.
Springfield.
Yeah,
Yes, it
that's
was
so
actually Mr. Burns just kind of being radioactive because he worked in the nuclear power plant. So
That's amazing. That's such a good, and that's a good crossover. Like again, you're talking about The Simpsons aired on Fox. The X-Files also aired on Fox. It was
yeah.
like a crossover type of thing from an animation standpoint. It's not that episode, I don't believe. But one of my favorite Mr. Burns health jokes is when he goes to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Oh, pretend this doorway is you, and here's all the germs." And he tries to push 12 different diseases and viruses through the. He's like, "We call this the Three Stooges effect," and they can't get through. So then Mr. Burns is like, "I'm invincible." Oh my. He's like, "No," and in fact, any slight breeze, and then he walks away. He's like, "Invincible," and it's one of the funniest damn bits. So that's your number 3.
That is my number 3.
For my number 3, let's get a little spooky.
Okay.
Let's get a little spooky.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Season 7, Episode 6, Treehouse of Horror 6. One of my favorites. There's a couple of good ones. I'm not going to play the clip with the billboards coming to life because I don't know if that song is going to be copyrighted with, I think it's Paul Anka, but, it goes to stop the monsters, 1, 2, 3, something, take it from me. It's got Paul Anka's guarantee. And then Lisa comes and goes, guaranteed void in Tennessee. Just don't look. Just don't look. But my favorite one of that Treehouse of Horror is the one where they do the spoof of Nightmare on Elm Street with Willie becoming Freddy Krueger, because Marge starts it off and she goes, "It all started on the 13th hour of the 13th day of the 13th month." We were at the school to complain about the way the calendar. And then Homer looks at it, he's like, "Lousy Smarch weather." It's one of the best jokes. And it's that to me is like a top 3 bit. And then so I'm gonna try to find that audio clip too. And it also has another one where it has the thermostat and it has a note on it, "Do not touch," and then a comma, Willie. And Homer reads, "Do not touch, Willie." Huh, good advice. And it's just so smart, and I absolutely love it. So I'm going to try to find an audio clip of that.
That's a good choice. That was a really good choice.
Yeah, and that's my number 3, Treehouse of Horror 6.
Nice.
It all started on the 13th hour of the 13th day of the 13th month. We were there to discuss the misprinted calendars the school had purchased.
Oh, lousy Smarch weather. Do not touch Willie. Good advice.
Moving on to number 2. What is number 2 for you, Sheri?
I am so happy that you mentioned that because it's getting to the nitty-gritty of my favorite episodes. So the number 2 for me is Simpson Califragilisticexpialidocious Grunt.
Docious. Okay, that
is season 8, episode 13.
Also on my list, didn't make the cut.
What?
Also, but I love it.
Good one. Yes, it's such a good one. So this was the episode where Marge is extremely stressed out and the family's not helping her with running the household. So she hires a nanny named Sheri Bobbins to come to the house and help with maintaining everything. And there's a lot of sing-alongs, and it's funny and it's hilarious. And I can actually still remember the sing-along for Barney by heart.
Yeah.
Yes,
you want to sing it?
No.
Because I was saying that's the only reason I didn't choose that episode, because
Really?
I couldn't find an audio clip that wasn't like a song.
Really?
I have one, but I'll get
so good. You have
finish
to
your
try and
thought,
find
and
it.
then I'll chime in with my piece.
Well, the end of it was it's one of my favorites because of the fact that it has the sing-alongs and everything in it is.
Buy me a beer, $2 a glass.
Come on.
Help me, I'm freezing my ass. This is such a good, but. I love that. Move it, you drunk, or I'll blast your rear end. I found $2. Then come in, my friend. Okay, I'm going to sing. Everybody's going to be super annoyed grunt with me. But no, my other favorite bit is at the end. She goes, she flies away. She goes, "So I must be leaving you." She flies off like Mary Poppins. Yep. And they go, "Goodbye, Sheri Bobbins. Thanks for everything." And then Barney comes in, "So long, Superman." Do you think we'll ever see her again, Dad? I'm sure of it. And then she flies, sucked into a jet turbine. Oh my God, so good, so good. That's a great number 2. Great number 2. I don't even have to put an audio clip for that because I sang it horribly. Moving on to my number 2, and I hope this isn't on your list because this would be horrible if this was your number 1.
Ooh.
Mine. Check your list. Do you have something from season 8, episode 9?
No.
Okay.
But I do have a lot of season 8s.
This is my penultimate favorite episode, and it's usually switches with my number 1 back and forth. This is The Mysterious Voyage of Our Homer. So let me set the stage. First, they go to a chili cook-off, and Homer puts wax on his tongue to eat the hot chili from Chief Wiggum.
Yep,
he goes on a trip.
Yep.
A crazy, he gets so high, wanders the desert.
Yes.
And it's just he's looking for his soulmate, and he doesn't realize it. And then like he can't find his soulmate. It ends up at the end where he ends up at the lighthouse, and it leads to a couple of my favorite jokes where Bart and Lisa see the light and then Homer's silhouette, and they're like, "Is that Dad?" And I think Bart, I can't remember if it's Bart or Lisa, goes, "Either that or Batman's really let himself go."
Yes.
Such a great line. Yes. And then at the end, when Marge finds him and Homer's overjoyed that Marge is his soulmate, he goes, "We're number one. We're number one. In your face, Space Coyote."
Space Coyote?
It's just so good. It's like one of my favorite.
Oh man.
Just from that, and then the whole bit, the opening with the chili, where Chief Wiggum's trying to upstage him, and Homer's got all the wax in his mind. It's so good. It's so good. It cracks me up, and I can like watch that episode on repeat, and I absolutely love it. So that's my number 2.
Oh man, he's here. The dude with the fireproof stomach.
Oh, he said he carved it himself from a bigger spoon.
5-alarm chili, eh? 1, 2. Hey, what the big idea?
Oh, I admit it. It's only 2 alarm. 2.5 tops. I just wanted to be a big man in front of the kids.
Daddy, are you going to jail?
We'll see, son. We'll see.
And now we're moving on to number 1.
Awesome.
Sheri, what is your number 1 favorite episode of The Simpsons?
My number 1 all-time favorite episode of The Simpsons is titled 201 Greyhounds, and that is from season 6, episode 20.
Okay, so I'm gonna just say, I want you to say your piece, and then I'm gonna give a shout out to somebody on my pod right here. But please say your piece about that.
So this episode is where Santa's little helper, which is the family dog, ends up having puppies with, I think it's called, her name is called She's the Fastest, which was a greyhound that was racing.
And that she is.
Funny. But I'm botch. And the family decides to keep the puppies. However, Mr. Burns wants to try and buy said puppies in order to make a coat out of them, and comes to create a song to the Beauty and the Beast Be Our Guest, but it's called See My Vest, and it's hilarious. Another song that I know almost verbatim, but one of the best episodes in my opinion.
I duet that with my cousin John.
Do you
every
really?
time we get together? That's what I say. Like we do that. We try to harmonize with it. It's amazing. So I'm on board with you with that. But please continue.
That's all I have. It's just a great episode. It's hilarious from beginning to end.
He's gonna make a tuxedo out of our puppies. Na 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 na. Bart, what? You gotta admit, it's catchy.
It is catchy.
That's so good, so good. And that was on my list too. Did not make my top 5.
Oh my goodness, we keep missing the mark.
Because my number 1 is the quintessential best episode that the Simpsons have ever produced. Season 5, episode 2. A little episode called Cape Fear. And Cape Fear, for those that are not familiar, revolves around a recurring character by the name of Sideshow Bob. And Sideshow Bob, all of his episodes are amazing, but Cape Fear hits every single comedic bit. From the part where he escapes and he goes after I think he's going down the street in an ice cream truck, and he's like, the following people will be murdered. No, not be murdered. Homer Simpson, Lisa Simpson, Marge Simpson, little baby Simpson. That is all. And then Homer goes in and, Bart, did you hear the news? Oh. To them going with the, not undercover, but witness protection. And the whole bit about, okay, from now on, you'll be Homer Thompson. Got it. So when I say hello, Mr. Thompson, you say hello. Okay. Hello, Mr. Thompson. Remember, your name is Mr. Thompson. Got it. Hello, Mr. Thompson. Time wipe. And it shows the clocks move. And you see them like they're smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Now, when I say hello, Mr. Thompson, and stomp on your foot, you smile and nod. And he's stomping his foot. Hello, Mr. Thompson. And then Homer looks over. I think he's talking to you. To the fact that they get on a houseboat, and Homer says, you know the greatest thing about a houseboat? If you don't like your neighbors, you can just pick up and sail away. And they all start laughing, and all the neighbors take off. to Sideshow Bob, actually, before they even make it to Cape Fear, hijacked. He's hiding under their car.
Yep.
And they're singing Three Little Maids from School. And he goes, hey, kids, you want to drive through that cactus patch? Yeah. Bart and Lisa's like, yeah. Then Sideshow Bob and Nathan goes, no. Oh, well, 2 against 1. Like that joke. And then to the stepping on the rakes. Oh, my God. Yes. There's just so many good
field of rakes,
bits.
yeah.
So many good bits. And I think, I'm not quite sure, I might have to double check, but I also think that's at the end where they catch him. I think that's the episode, and listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, if Bart says, take him away, boys. And then the chief's like, hey, I'm the captain here. Bake him away, toys. And they said, what? Just do as the boy says. Like, so many good, like, so many, like, repeatable comedy bits. And again, I could be off on a couple of those, but I know the rake, the cactus patch, and the witness protection program, all 3 of those, that's just 3 of the best jokes I've, like, ever heard. Like, there's so many good things about that. So let's listen to a little clip about that now.
Tell you what, sir, from now on you'll be Homer Thompson at Terror Lake. Let's just practice a bit, When I say, hello, Mr. Thompson, you'll say, hi.
Check.
Hello, Mr. Thompson. Remember now, your name is Homer Thompson.
I got you.
Hello, Mr. Thompson. Oh, now, when I say hello, Mr. Thompson, and press down on your foot, you smile and nod.
No problem.
Hello, Mr. Thompson.
I think he's talking to you.
And that about wraps up our final countdown of top 5 favorite Simpsons episodes. And I didn't even prompt you on this, and I should have, and I apologize for this. But as we wrap up, do you have anything you want to plug? Do you have any things that you want to give shouts out to, or like put out there for people to check out? Or
yeah, sure. So if you're interested in getting your health and wellness under wraps and you're trying to look for something fun to do, I'm launching a 6-week program at Healthtrax in East Providence. I'm running a Yin Mind Body Fitness class, which is a 6-week class. It's a really great price, $102. Hit me up on my Instagram, is at nickycastries, NICKYCASTRIES. Let me know if you're interested. The class is going to start on June 1st.
Perfect. And by the time we have that out, it'll be just about probably a week. Well, we're about a week from June 1st. So I'll try to have this out the next couple of days as we're recording this. But and all that, the Sheri stuff will be in the show notes, so you can check that out if you want to follow her on the IG. The girl is absolutely like powerful. She's strong. She's gorgeous. She kicks ass. So check her out on Instagram. Follow her. You know, if you want, like you said, if you want to get healthy, like I ask her for tips all the time. She can't really tell me everything because she's a personal trainer and she's got to, like, you know, she's going to make her money. I get that. Yeah. But but
I don't mind helping.
She helps out. She taught me how to do paused leg raises. So we'll I mean, nobody cares about that. Let's be honest.
They're not fun, but they're productive.
Yeah. Well, I said nobody even cares about me talking about my fitness journey. No, people want to hear about The Simpsons. That's what they want to hear about. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining. This has been another episode of Free Your Geek. So until next time, first of all, Sheri, thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.
We'll do this again. We'll talk. We'll do another top 5. We won't be our favorites, but we'll do another top 5 of our favorite episodes.
Or we can also do a Simpsons episode where we're coming up with the phrases, our favorite phrases.
Ooh, I like that too.
Yeah,
that's a good one. So you were spitballing on air as we're recording. Right? Well, until next time, folks, thank you for listening. Check out Sheri on Instagram. All that'll be in the show notes. And then until then, follow me on Instagram. I'm at jfree82, or follow Free Your Geek on Instagram because we're on there too. Twitter, the same thing. I don't tweet anymore really, but
you're missing out if you're not following JFree already.
Oh, see, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, you can check out my stories and see me dropping thirst traps of my cats. It's great. Yeah, and then follow Free Your Geek on all the social media. I think my website's still up for JFree the Geek. Check that out, jfreethegeek.com. And until next time, folks, get your geek on. Bye, everybody.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.